I know for a fact I am not like the rest of the guys in the NFL.
Talk your talk,
I know I'm a top 5 receiver.
Yeah.
I know I'm a top 3 receiver.
Yeah, I love
you know what I'm saying? I just got to bring that confidence, bring that spirit, and it's going to happen.
Making it to the NFL as a football player is one of the most lucrative yet most volatile career paths you could ever have. A lot of times players don't make it all the way through the NCAA into the NFL as a high draft pick, and even then when you do make it into the NFL as a high draft pick, your success is anything but guaranteed. But there are some instances where you are able to make it past all the tiers and eventually even become a player that's a franchise cornerstone for the NFL, but then you just can't help but screw it all up just because of your own hubris. And that is what happened to Chase Claypool. As now it looks like Chase Claypool is completely out of the NFL and he just can't come to terms with it. And this is before he's even hit his prime. During the 2020 NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Chase Claypool in the second round with the 49th overall pick, and a pick that quickly made Pittsburgh Steelers fans forget about Antonio Brown. Claypool exploded onto the scene in his rookie season while starting in 6 games, but also playing in 16 games. In those games, he had 62 receptions for 873 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. Claypool's style of play was exhilarating because not only was he 6'4" and 230 pounds, but the man ran a 4.42 40-yard dash. All of these attributes combined earned Chase Claypool the nickname Maple Megatron, and to be honest, for his rookie season, it very much looked like he could be a Calvin Johnson type of wide receiver if he locked in and worked on his craft. And in his second season in the NFL, it very much looked like things were heading in that direction. After helping lead the Pittsburgh Steelers to a 12-4 record in 2020, Claypool once again was a focal point of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, teaming up with Juju Smith-Schuster to give the Pittsburgh Steelers a very promising wide receiver core for the future, once again recording 860 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in 13 games started. But there was just one major problem. It seemed like Chase Claypool was anything but focused on trying to be the best wide receiver in the NFL. You see, in his rookie season, part of Chase Claypool's extracurricular activities included recording TikToks with his teammate Juju Smith-Schuster, which is something that people don't really care about so long as you're winning. But the problem is, in Chase Claypool's rookie season, the Pittsburgh Steelers started out on an 11-game win streak and then would drop 4 of their final 5 games in the regular season before losing in heartbreaking fashion to their division rival Cleveland Browns in the wildcard round, 37-48. So his sophomore season was the perfect opportunity to make this up, but Chase Claypool's maturity was once again brought up. Fans stated that he was just a rookie, and with Mike Tomlin being known as the ultimate player's coach, fans were confident that he would get it together. And while statistically speaking he did, there were moments that clearly indicated that Chase Claypool was anything but a mature wide receiver. Primarily in a crucial game versus the Minnesota Vikings, when the Pittsburgh Steelers were down 36-28 and Ben Roethlisberger was trying to captain a game-tying drive versus the Minnesota Vikings. On 4th and 1, he found Chase Claypool on a slant, which is fantastic, but instead of hurrying back to the line of scrimmage with time ticking off the clock, Chase Claypool opted to celebrate instead. This was significant as the Pittsburgh Steelers had no timeouts left, and it looks even worse when you consider the fact that Claypool was benched earlier in the game.
Did you bench Chase Claypool for a while?
I did.
Is that because of the penalty?
Yes.
Now, following the game, Chase Claypool was asked about the incident, and he did anything but hold himself accountable for his stupidity.
So he ran down the field to come get the ball. The ball got knocked out of my hands. That's what cost us time. But I definitely do have to be better. I knew the situation. I know I'm near the hash. I know the ball's placed on the hash. But I got to be better, and the ball shouldn't get knocked out of my hands. Should be.
And while at this point, the writing was on the wall. During the following season, the Pittsburgh Steelers decided that they were out of the Chase Claypool business. I don't know why teams typically take flyers on ex-Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers because it rarely ever goes well for them. Whether it's Antonio Brown getting traded to the Raiders, Deontay Johnson getting traded to the Panthers, Juju Smith-Schuster leaving and joining the Chiefs, although I'm going to admit that turned out better for the Chiefs, and that was probably like the best case scenario. scenario, and in this case, Chase Claypool being traded to the Chicago Bears for a second-round pick that would later on be used to select Joey Porter Jr. Although on paper, I have to admit this was a remarkable situation for Chase Claypool, because now he went from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had a huge question mark at the quarterback position, to the Chicago Bears, who didn't have a question mark at the quarterback position, at least not yet, but had a young up-and-coming quarterback in Justin Fields that they were doing their best to build around. Claypool would get traded in the middle of the season and was forced to build chemistry with Justin Fields very quickly, and ultimately he wasn't able to do it, only gaining 140 receiving yards throughout the 7 games he played and 14 receptions. Considering the fact that the Bears ended up having the worst record in the NFL, it's not a stretch to say that the Bears overpaid for Chase Claypool here. Now bear in mind, Chase Claypool is a second-round pick, so his 4th season is his make or break season. This is his contract year. If he's able to ball out and somehow come up with a 1,000 plus yard receiving season, or even a season that was reminiscent of his rookie year, then he could leverage that into getting generational money in free agency. Unfortunately, Chase Claypool wouldn't do that. In the 2023 season, Claypool went viral for failing to run block and for just being immature once again. Chase Claypool was frustrated by not being featured in the Chicago Bears offense as much, and in week 4 he expressed frustration with the Bears and stated that he did not believe the coaching staff put him in position to succeed. In the beginning of his make or break season, he even went on I Am Athlete and said that he's a top 3 wide receiver.
I know for a fact I am not like the rest of the guys in the NFL.
Talk,
I know I'm a top 5 receiver. I know I'm a top 3 receiver.
You know
what I'm saying? I just got to bring that confidence, bring that spirit, and it's going to happen.
And I think it's so funny whenever a wide receiver's biggest issues throughout his career was the fact that he wasn't locked in and he wasn't mature enough to latch on to multiple NFL teams. And then all of a sudden he goes on a podcast and says, I'm a dog.
When I'm working, I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I'm a dog.
And to come to his defense, it's not the craziest thing to say Chase Claypool is a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL when he's focused about his grind and isn't being a distraction. But the problem with Claypool is he's acting like a diva before he's even brought forth the production to prove he's worth his antics. But at that point, it was too little too late. Ryan Poles said he wished Chase Claypool the best of luck moving forward in his career, and he even said, I always look at things from a player's perspective. You have a player going into his free agent year, he wants to be productive and help us, and when things aren't going the right way, sometimes you get emotional, things don't work out, and you struggle to blend in and keep resilient and stay resilient with the rest of the crew. I think Chase is going to learn from this situation, we all will, and I wish him luck moving forward throughout his career. But what once productive wide receivers don't understand is as you consistently hop from team to team, the chances that your role lessens is significantly greater. And no wide receiver is safe from this, whether you're Chase Claypool from the beginning of the 2023 season, or even DeAndre Hopkins when he got traded from the Tennessee Titans to the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, in Nuke Hopkins' situation, it's a little bit different. He's an 11-year veteran at this point, and he was traded to the Chiefs in the middle of the season, and to be honest, he was still very productive for the Chiefs. But in Chase Claypool's scenario, he hasn't been productive for a whole year at this point, and there are question marks about his character, and now he's on his 3rd team. The Miami Dolphins traded a 7th round pick in the 2025 draft for him, and he only had 4 receptions on 26 yards that year. So instead of locking in and trying to figure out a way to make it work with the Chicago Bears, Chase Claypool opted not to run block when he was asked to, acting like a petulant child, and getting traded to the Miami Dolphins, where he was literally wide receiver number 5. So last offseason, the Buffalo Bills decided to trade Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans. So their wide receiver room was very much in flux because the only wide receivers they had were Khalil Shakir and the newly drafted Keon Coleman. Alongside Curtis Samuel, all of these wide receivers are very talented, but none of them were proven to be number 1 wide receivers. Keon Coleman was the presumed number 1 wide receiver, but he was a rookie, so fans didn't really know who the Bills' top wide receiver was, so this was a great situation for Chase Claypool. But once again, Claypool would mess this up, and to be honest, I don't know how much of this was his fault. 3 months after signing the 1-year contract with the Buffalo Bills, Royals, he was placed on injured reserve with a toe injury, and then he was released with an injury settlement on August 15th. So he's been a free agent all year long, and at this point, it doesn't really look like any team is interested in signing Chase Claypool. I mean, the guy may go 13 games, 100 receptions, and 10 plus touchdown receptions in the CFL, but apart from that, I don't really see other teams giving Claypool a chance apart from the practice squad. And I think it's just really sad because fans are bringing up how much of a physical freak Chase Claypool was. The guy was 6'4", 230 pounds, and ran a 4.42. The man had all the athletic gifts that any football player could ever ask for, but he was so content coasting off of his talent that he acted like a child. And unfortunately, if you have all the talent in the world and you can't put it together and you're acting like a child and you go through team after team after team, eventually you're gonna lose your opportunity in the NFL. And it's just sad because he was so immature that he lost out on millions and millions of dollars. I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Chase Claypool latches on with another team, but at the end of the day, I think this might be the end of Chase Claypool. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think this is the end of Chase Claypool? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.